This is the third of the 10 questions that I designed. The first part is fairly easy. The second part is definitely aimed at aimed at the A students. So the first one is not too bad, but pause the video if you want to have a go at it, but I'm going to continue. So your opportunity to pause the video is now. You have 6x squared minus 96. We have to factorise this. The first thing you want to look for when factorising is the common factor. It's the most fundamental thing you want to look for. So 6 and 96. Think, what's the highest common factor of 6 and 96? You don't have access to a calculator in this question, so you're going to have to do a bit of mental or written arithmetic. Well, 96 is equal to 6 times 16, so 6 would be the highest common factor. We'll take 6 out, and if we divide by 6, we get x squared minus 16. And so I've gone too quick. That's the first mark I would give. So this part A is out of 2 marks. So that's the first one. The second one, we've done the common factor, and the next thing we want to look at is, do we have a trinomial? So do we have a trinomial? And the idea is a trinomial has 3 terms. A term in x squared, a term in x, and a term without x. So for example, 2x squared plus 5x minus 9. But we don't have that because we don't have a term in just x. So we don't have that, and so we don't have a trinomial. Do we have what's called a difference of 2 squares, which we can abbreviate as dots? So for difference of 2 squares or dots, we have a squared minus b squared equals a minus b in one bracket and a plus b. Will I have enough space to get this in? I hope so. Well, if we compare x squared minus 16, we get x squared minus 4 squared. And we can make a x and b 4 and substitute in. We get x minus 4 x plus 4. And that's us finished. That's the second mark out of 5 in total for this question. So you fully factorized it, and this is what we got. Just as a sanity check, let's expand out. X times x is x squared plus 4x. In fact, I'll do this in blue. That's x squared. That is 4x. That is minus 4x. And you get minus 4 times 4 is minus 16. You can cancel out the terms in x. We get x squared minus 16. Multiply by 6 and we get 6x squared minus 96. Not too bad. The second part is difficult. The function h is given by hx equals 24x squared minus 384. And this is in bold, using your answer to part A. And you must use the answer to part A to do this. Show that h of 14 equals 4,320. What you cannot do is just plug 14 in, because it does say using the answer to part A, so you have to make use of that. Now this one is difficult, but it's totally within the scope of what a question could ask. So we have to think, how do we use what we found in the last section in order to help us with this? So you're possibly a bit puzzled in the exam, but if you are very clever and you notice that you divide the whole thing by 4, take out 4 as a common factor. Divide 24 by 4 is 6x squared, and 384. Divide by 2 is 192. Divide by 2 again is 96. So we've just got a factor of 6x squared minus 96. Now we can then use the factorization that we found. So I'm going to then plug this in. And we'll do 4 times 6 is 24. And we've then satisfied the requirement of the question to use the answer to part A, because we substituted it in this part. I would give Mark 3 at this point. That's my judgment. Then only now do we substitute x as 14. You cannot substitute h as 14 into this, because although it will give you the correct answer, you haven't used part A to do so. So h14, it's just function notation, so we have to substitute x for 14, giving us 24. 14 minus 4. 14 plus 4. And that is mark number 4. (14 minus 4 is 10. 14 plus 4 is 18. Let's do a doodle and do 24 times 18. You do not have access to a calculator, so you have to do this with long multiplication. The 4 times 8 is 32, so 2, carry the 3, 2 times 8 is 16, plus 3 is 19. 24 times 8, then we do 24 times 10 is 240. And I haven't left enough space, so 2 plus 0 is 2. 9 plus 4 is 13. So put the 3 and carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. So 24 times 18 is 432. Times 10. And that gives 4,320 as required. And because it's a show that question, you want to show every step of your working. You do not need the thing I wrote in blue. You don't need that, but I'm doing that just as a sanity check. But you do have to show that you couldn't just substitute 14 minus 4, 14 plus 4 and skip this. You couldn't skip this because you have to actually show all of the steps, and this would be mark number 5. So I hope you found it useful. I'll show you this one last time. That's section A. And that is section B. Hope you found it useful. Best of luck with the studying, and just leave a comment if you need any help. But thank you once again for watching.